Welcome to the Alex Jones Show on this Thursday, January 29th, 2015. I'm David Knight. I'll be your host today. We're going to be talking about a wide variety of issues. We've got Paul Joseph Watson joining us from the UK in the bottom of this hour. In the third hour, we have Rosa Koire, who has published the book Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. She's an expert on Agenda 21. She's somebody who's coming to it from the left, and she has a very important perspective. I think these two things are really coming together in one area in particular that we're seeing this happen, and that is in transportation. We're going to talk to Paul Joseph Watson about his article talking about how the UK is going to start developing the government-controlled network using what they call M2M, machine-to-machine. Here it's going to be called V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle. That's been mandated by Obama to take place in just a couple of years. And of course, every bit of your movement is going to be tracked and controlled by the government. They want to call this self-driving cars. Let me tell you, they're computer-driven cars, and they're controlled by the government. That's the point of it. And it's also a part of Agenda 21 because, of course, Agenda 21 is about limiting where we can live, limiting where and when we can travel. They need to take control of transportation. That's a very important aspect of government control. It's not just knowing everything about you, tracking you wherever you go. It's also about controlling where you go, controlling where you live, controlling how you live. It's an absolute total control grid that they want to put in place, and transportation is a very important part of that. So we're going to be talking to Rosa Koire about that. I just got this flyer this last week about one of the Agenda 21 meetings that were being held to push the Texas corridor that they're trying to create. Of course, they want to merge the large cities, Austin, San Antonio, and eventually Dallas and Houston will be brought into a triangle if you look at their long-term plans. And pretty much everything else will be off limits. The government wants to take back control of all that. So there's a real fight going on in the country right now. Utah and western states are saying, we want to have the land back that the government owns, has kept control of. They've kept, in many cases, well over 90% of the land. In some of the states, they never turned that back to the individual states as they became states. As Ken Ivory pointed out when he was visiting with Alex a couple of weeks ago, that was a situation that happened even in western states like Florida. See, when Florida became a state, lands that were territories were controlled and owned by the federal government, but they turned that over to the state, to private individuals. We saw that happen in Texas, of course, because Texas was an independent republic before it ever joined the Union. But after the Civil War, the government had a major change in many areas. One of the things that they did was decide that they're just going to retain control of the land and never turn that back. Now they're going a bit farther. With Agenda 21, they want to not only not turn over the land that's out west, but they also want to seize control of the private property that we have here. And of course, it's all being sold as sustainable, as environmental, as something that's going to help you to live a more green life. And so she points that out in Behind the Green Mask. This is what I got in this flyer. It says, the regional rail project is proposed to improve mobility, mode choice, accessibility, and transportation reliability. Well, you know what? I have mode choice right now, and I get to choose where I want to go, but they don't like that. They're not going to allow that. We already had a story earlier this week where we saw that the DEA, back in 2009, the ACLU learned that the DEA was trying to monitor the license plates of people that were at gun shows. Now, this was something that was leaked to the ACLU, and then the DEA said, oh, don't worry about it. We never did that. We promise. We never did that. Do you really believe that? We're going to be back. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Obamacare. There's a discrepancy between the left and the right. Is it really more expensive than we were told, or is it actually cheaper? I think there's some Grubering of the data going on here. We're going to look at that, as well as the Trans-Pacific Partnership meetings on Capitol Hill were interrupted by protesters. Very important video. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome to the Alex Jones Show on this Thursday, January 29th, 2015. I'm David Knight, your host today. It's amazing how quickly January has passed. We're already 1 month into 2015. We have today, Rosa Koire is going to be joining us in the third hour. Paul Joseph Watson will be joining us at the bottom of this hour. I think a common theme between what Paul Watson has talked about this last week, of course, he's been talking about Davos. We're going to talk to him about that as well. But he also talked about the UK government announcing plans to remotely control vehicles. And of course, this is something we've been pointing out for quite a while here at InfoWars, and Alex Jones has been talking about it for a very long time. A key portion of controlling the population, of course, is going to be getting control of transportation. And that plays into both Agenda 21 as well as what we see being rolled out very rapidly in all the Western countries, Europe, the United States as well. They are all rushing to what they call driverless cars. Let me tell you, these self-driving cars is the other way they refer to them. I have a self-driving car right now. I can drive myself anywhere I want to go. That's not going to be the case once we have computer-driven, government-controlled cars. They're going to determine where you go, how fast you go, and they're going to determine where you go, and they're going to track everywhere you go. And that's something that we should all be very concerned about, especially when we look at articles that have just come out this last week. Look at the air passengers' bank details that they want to see in the EU. They want to know all about your banking details before they allow you to travel. We also saw in the United States that the TSA is planning to scrutinize social media posts of travelers. So they want to know about your bank details. They want to know about what you're saying on social media. What do you think they're going to do once they control even internal travel within the country, controlling the cars? We've already gotten a glimpse of this. Of course, we know the government has an insatiable appetite for information about what we're doing, what we're thinking, if we're a possible threat at all to them. We had this story that we talked about yesterday. Alex talked about it some, where the DEA was planning to take license plate scans of people who had gone to gun shows. This was something that was leaked to the ACLU. It was a plan that they had back in 2009. And this was something that was being done by the Drug Enforcement Agency, not the ATF, but the Drug Enforcement Agency. See, of course, they've been on the cutting edge of destroying the Constitution for a very, very long time. They were the ones who gave us civil asset forfeiture. They destroyed the rule of law. They set up the surveillance state. They did things to corrupt the police using civil asset forfeiture. They've been on the forefront of this for a long time. As of 6 years ago, they were planning on using automatic license plate readers to record everybody at a gun show. And the ACLU at the time said, well, we saw this, and so we concluded these agencies were collecting the information, but we've now been reassured by the DEA that they never did it. And so it alleviates some concerns, says the ACLU. Do you really believe that they didn't do it? I mean, are these people credible in any way whatsoever? Do you think that perhaps if they didn't do it, it's probably because they just found a better, more covert way to do it, using Stingray, using your cell phone to track you? Probably somebody said, guys, we don't need to drive around the parking lot taking pictures of cars at gun shows. We can just track them using their cell phones. Haven't you heard? We just got this great program from the NSA. So they're doing it. They're looking to see everything that you're doing. They're following everything that you're doing. It's about total government control. It's about turning our planet into a plantation, and our overseers and our slave masters want to know everything that we're doing. Now, in the third hour, we're going to talk to Rosa Koire. One of the things, guys, see if you can get a shot of this map for the people who are looking at a video feed of this. This is a flyer that I got telling me that I could go to a meeting, and that's something we're going to talk to Rosa Koire about. This is not just about a Texas corridor. The same thing is going on where she lives in San Francisco. The same thing is going on wherever you live if you're listening to us, because this is part of a UN global agenda. This is a global agenda. This isn't just a problem with Texas or California or the United States. This is going to go on everywhere. This is about containing everybody into a small area, restricting their movements. And right now, we're looking at this flyer that I've got, and what they're saying is, well, of course, one option that could be studied would be to provide passenger rail service. What do you think? I mean, we could study that. You could come to the meeting and give us your input. I mean, that's just an idea we had. They know exactly what they want to do. This meeting is something that's carefully controlled and plotted by the RAND Corporation to try to make you feel like you're part of a consensus buying into this sustainable program. The whole thing is a very elaborate lie. And I think people are starting to wake up to this. We see that the Trans-Pacific Partnership is being given a fast track by the Obama administration. Republicans want to get this done very, very badly as well. It's very likely that it's going to happen. Obama wants it. Both houses of the Republicans want it. They've signaled that they want to do this very early, very quickly. Why should you be concerned about this? Well, because it's the next step in global corporate governance. It's being negotiated in secret. And even if you don't have an issue with what's there, if you think you know what's there and you don't have an issue with it, you should have an issue with the process that they're going through. The fact that they are negotiating this in secret, that none of our elected representatives are allowed to see this, that they're going to be given this massive document with no time to look it over and no capability of changing it. Some people have had enough. Let's roll this tape, guys, of the TPP protesters interrupting the U.S. Trade Representative's presentation. This is on C-SPAN. He said, "You're not telling the American people the truth." They're escorting this protester out. They've organized this, so they've got, as soon as they get her out and she shuts up, they've got another person who comes in there. Watch this.
No TPP! No!
This government bureaucrat, and they unfurled, for those of you who are just listening, they're unfurling a big banner behind him. TPP fast track is it's a protest, and they're dragging that guy out. That's enough, guys. Yeah, listen, if you want free trade, you don't need multi-thousand-page documents to do it, negotiated in secret, with only corporate lobbyists attending. It's not free trade. It's anything but free trade. And this is not simply about trade. This is about much more than trade. This is about a global corporate governance. They're going to change copyright laws. They're going to force GMOs on people. They're going to take over the internet. This is another means of internet control that they're going to use. I'm very, very disappointed to see many Republicans who should know better, Republicans like Rand Paul, saying that he's going to support this. I think if he does, it is going to gut his support with a lot of people. I think a lot of people are going to say, that's it. He sold out to private, secret, corporate interests, because anybody that votes for a fast track has done that. That's something we should be very, very concerned about. And it's good to see people standing up, taking the risk, and even getting arrested for that. Now, Obamacare. We're told that this is the Affordable Health Care Act. We had headlines just the last couple of days from Bloomberg as well as from Media Matters saying that the right wing is lying to you about Obamacare. Affordable health care, it turns out, is affordable after all. We got this headline from Bloomberg, says Obamacare will cost 20% less than initial projections, says the CBO. Then we've got another one that's a bit stronger from Media Matters. It says right-wing media won't tell you that the CBO's new Obamacare cost estimates are lower than expected. Oh, but meanwhile, we're seeing that actually they have gone up to $1.93 trillion. Actually, that's a 12% increase over just 3 years ago. So what's going on? Who's telling the truth? Again, they're grouping the data. You can make the data say anything you want if you massage it enough. The CBO has done a 10-year projection. They did one back in 2012, and they did one just recently. Now, we reported on this when it happened back in 2012. If you look at this article that we had, it was in March 22nd, 2012, 10 years of Obamacare would cost $1.76 trillion, far more than originally claimed. That was 2012. They were saying that it was going to cost $1.76 trillion. Go forward to this last October, and we had an article on Infowars.com from RT. Obamacare likely to cost $300 billion more than thought. They say it's gone up $300 billion since the summer of 2012. So that was back in October. Just this last week, we saw articles all over the internet. We saw $2 trillion to cover just half of the uninsured, actually a little bit less than half of the uninsured. That was the headlines from New American. We also saw other outlets talking about this. We had the Daily Mail saying that it was going to be $1.993 trillion. That's $200 or $300 billion more than they had expected. So that's a 12% increase in just 3 years. So what's the difference? Well, the difference is one of those is looking at a 10-year cost, and then the one that Media Matters and Bloomberg is cherry-picking, that they are grouping, is only looking at 4 years. They're looking at 2015 through 2019. So by picking the endpoints, they can come up with a 20% decrease. Why is it going down 20%, but over a 12-year period, it's going up, over a 10-year period, it's going up 12%? Well, it's because Obama has arbitrarily extended so many of these things. If it looks like it's going to hurt the economy before the election, he pushes this out or he grants arbitrary restrictions with executive orders. So by doing that, he's pushing the costs out a few years. Then the liberal media goes in and looks at a shorter period of time at the front and says, oh, look, it's 20% less because he's pushed these things out. Then they say the right-wing media is lying about it. We can't afford Obamacare, but it's more than just the efficiency. It's about freedom. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Globalist social engineers are not just targeting us with propaganda. They are manipulating our genetics. We are being targeted at every level by estrogen mimickers that lower our testosterone and other hormones and natural compounds that the body needs. After consulting top doctors, nutritionists, pharmacists, and others, we have developed what I believe is the ultimate non-GMO organic super male vitality formula sourced from powerful organic herbs and then concentrated for maximum potency. Super Male Vitality was developed to activate your body's own natural processes instead of using synthetic chemicals. Super Male Vitality by InfoWars Life is so powerful that I only take half the recommended dose. For a limited time, we are offering 15% off Super Male Vitality at InfoWarsLife.com to introduce you to this powerful supplement. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today to secure your Super Male Vitality. InfoWarsLife.com.